Congress has finally unveiled a so-called COVID relief bill that promises to grant relief to hundreds of millions of Americans. Great, the left say. That's $900 billion in the pockets of ordinary Americans. Hooray for taxation. But what if I were to tell you that the bill, which promises relief to Americans from the devastating effects of coronavirus, was instead being repurposed for gender programs in Pakistan? Yes, Queen. That's right. Americans' hard-earned money that is taken from them under the promise that the state will use it to benefit them is going to ensure that farmers in Afghanistan can go to university, Pakistani women are empowered, Sri Lanka can build and maintain one single boat, that's 15 million. Today we're going to be talking about this and talking about how the state uses your money. This is Political. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Merry Christmas, one and all, and we hope you're having a smashing Christmas and New Year. Do please consider subscribing. It'll be the best Christmas present you give yourself. Infinite, conservative, common sense commentary. Drop us a like, because that's the best Christmas present you can give us. And do feel free to wish us season's greetings in the comment section down below. Ryan, what the hell are they doing with Americans' money?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? So they've put through this bill. It's gained this kind of bipartisan support. And in a very sort of rare situation, we've seen a bipartisan hatred towards this bill from both Democrats and Republican voters. So I want to read this article and show you just a list of some of the stuff that's actually in there. So Americans fume as COVID relief bill promises millions of dollars to Pakistan and other countries for democracy and gender programs. The $2.3 trillion spending bill in the United States that combines a $900 billion in COVID relief measures with $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill for the 2021 federal fiscal year has attracted severe criticism from certain quarters. The COVID relief bill has been passed by the US House and Senate and awaits the president's signature to be signed into law. The bill provides $600 to most Americans and their children. In addition, an enhanced $300 per week has been put in place for the unemployment till March. An additional $284 billion has been provided for the Paycheck Protection Program, which provides forgivable loans to small businesses. Why the $600 provision has been criticized by many for being too less an amount. The allocations made in regular government spending has caused major outrage. The near 6,000-page bill contains millions in dollars in funding to numerous countries as foreign aid. Pakistan is set to receive $50 million for democracy programs, $10 million for gender programs. Sri Lanka is to receive $50 million for the refurbishing of a high-endurance cutter, a type of patrol boat. And there's a whole list here. I'll leave them on the screen so you can kind of read through them. This is just some of the other stuff. Remember, this is a 6,000-page bill. There is countless stuff in there, crazy stuff all over the place, random, what I would call frivolous spending. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of a bill is to be very, very specific, right? If people are going to vote on a bill, they need to know what it's about. So if you vote on a bill that says on the front of it, COVID relief, you would expect it to grant COVID relief. But, in this case, it's a case of you vote on COVID relief, and what you're actually getting is women in Pakistan can be empowered. Yes, Queen. It's accountability more than anything, and it's about democracy. It's about knowing what you're voting for. These are two things that Joe Biden has never expressed a deep desire or a love of. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden's not involved, okay? But I'm saying you can expect a lot more things like this as we go on in the next 4 years. And isn't it just so ridiculous? $600, they're putting $600 in Americans' pockets. That's nothing, okay? When you take $3,000 from that person and then give them $600 back and say, you should be damn thankful for that. Like, just don't tax me in the first place if you're going to be that inefficient with it. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said just at the beginning, obviously this has bipartisan support to even get through. But people hate this. Both the left and the right hate this. And they've kind of, in this rare occurrence on Twitter and all over social media and everything, I've been hating on it. It just shows how out of touch the government has become. Like you say, they hand out the money, taxpayers' money, to people and be like, oh, you should be grateful that we're giving you your own money. And it's like, well, it's not even really their money, is it? It's like their children and grandchildren's money, because this is debt that's being borrowed that's going to be presumably paid off at some point in the future. Now, obviously, I don't want to, like, I know a lot of people use sound bites and they like reduce government spending down to, like, you know, maxing out the credit cards and that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, the government, central banks exist for the purpose of the government being able to borrow money to stimulate certain things. And we see that all the time with like bailouts or whatever and that kind of stuff. And that's okay. But when you have this level of like frivolous spending on foreign aid juxtaposed against this damaged and recovering economy with thousands and thousands of people of unemployment, you know, people are obviously going to be outraged by that. It's like they've thrown this all in there hoping that no one would notice. Most of this spending would never survive a vote on its own. So they just shoved it in with the COVID relief bill so that if, you know, one party rejects it, they can go, oh, look, you voted down the COVID relief. Oh, look, you don't care about the American people. And that it's that playing of politics that makes people see the government as this kind of swamp. And that's why you have such a high anti-establishment sentiment.
Yeah, definitely, and there's no question about it. And what it seems to me, we've lost sense of what taxation should be about, right? So I believe, and many conservatives believe, taxation should have a purpose. And if you're going to take 20% of my salary, then you should be telling me that it's going into, I don't know, unemployment programs in case I lose my job, or security spending to keep me safe, or spending on the police to make sure criminals don't break into my house. Tell me what I'm paying for. You know, give me a receipt, because I'm giving you money and you're providing a service. But what appears to have happened here is the American taxpayer has given the state money and they don't know what to do with it. And now they're just, you know, spaffing it around the world like nothing's ever happened. I mean, this is the thing with progressives. They're so great at spending other people's money, aren't they? They're putting millions and millions of dollars into funding women on literally the other side of the globe in the middle of Asia, okay? When look at the women's situation in America, okay, they're the biggest sufferers with COVID. When you look at who's lost their jobs, it's more likely they're not women, because they were in precarious situations to begin with anyway. We look at domestic violence. It's been a huge epidemic there. Where's the funding for them? I'm sure there is funding, but it could use more. It could use far, far more. There's a big problem there. But instead, what these so-called lawmakers are doing is taking a mountain of money and they're saying, oh, that's nice. Oh, gender programs in Pakistan. Yes, Queen, I can put that on Twitter and everyone's going to vote for me. It's going to be amazing. That's disgusting. I hate that. I actually hate what they're doing with people's money.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to bring this a little bit back then to the bigger picture, which is why are they even, you know, why does this bill even exist? This bill exists because they've shut down, or local governments have shut down in many states, businesses, told them to shut. By law, you're not allowed to open, fined them thousands and thousands if they do open. And it forces all these businesses basically to go bankrupt. There's nothing that they can do. They've not actually been given any relief because they've not had any relief for months and months because no one wanted to pass a relief bill leading up to the election. And obviously I do blame the Democrats far more than Republicans for that. They didn't want to give that to Trump because they saw it was a win for him, because they don't care. They don't care about businesses and they don't really care about people. They only really care about having power. You know, but what it does then is all these smaller businesses, they're forced to shut, but big, huge corporations, you know, like, I mean, Amazon, probably the best example, you know, they've got all these, what do they call them, fulfillment centers or whatever, scattered across the globe, basically. They just carry on as normal doing their delivery service, right? Because they don't have retail stores or whatever and this kind of thing. And, you know, people might be listening to this and, well, hold on, I thought you guys were like conservative. That sounds incredibly socialist. It's like, no, we're not socialists. We're capitalists. We believe in competition, but we believe in fair competition. And the lockdowns have created this environment that benefits big corporations massively and shuts down the little man and forces them to close. And you just get this sense that, you know, this is why we call it the swamp. All of these government elected officials, they have their special interests. They've been that people have been lobbying for their support to get them elected in the first place, and now they're paying back. And the ones that take the brunt and the ones that have to pay the cost of all of that is the average taxpayer who just wants a government to work for them, you know? And this is why Trump was so appealing, because he didn't take, you know, donations from big corporations everywhere or special interests or billionaires or whatever. Like, look at Biden's campaign. They outraised him like 3-1 or something like that, crazy towards the end, right? Because he was getting money from everywhere, piling in. He's got to pay all that back now. And it's that cronyism that where government doesn't work. That's the one thing I think that the sort of the left and the right can actually unite on, is actually having a government that works for them rather than just working for, you know, special interests and lobbyists.
Yeah, and you know, it's all about that free and fair competition, isn't it? And as you were saying, you know, these huge companies, they've profited massively out of the coronavirus problems, and they've just got more and more and more competitive. There is no more free market because they're just dominating it. You cannot effectively compete with them because, well, the government's ordered you to close your shop, right? Like, so how on earth are you going to compete with them? But think back to 2008. The whole thing that caused 2008, we had banks that were so-called too big to fall. Okay, what preceded that was 20, 30 years of lawmakers failing to address the structural problems, failing to address the problems, failing to promote competition, and then what happens is there's a complete disaster. It's like dropping a nuke on the economy. And it's exactly the same here, okay? So the more and more and more we allow these big businesses to grow their monopolies and to turn the market, turn the free market into their favor, well, what happens when Amazon goes bust? I don't think Amazon's going to go bust very time soon, but it can happen, okay? Can you imagine the global catastrophic effect that would have? It would actually be unthinkable, and therefore the taxpayer would have to step in to bail them out if that happens. That's bad, okay? And we should be challenging it every time possible. So when you do say the left and right can agree on that, you're absolutely right. And I'll just go back to that thing you said as well. Yeah, why has this come now? Why has this bill come now, 1 month after the election, almost 2 months? Well, I think we can agree. Everyone knows it. The Democrats didn't want to pass this bill to damage Donald Trump. Anyone with eyes can see that. That's wrong. How dare they? Oh my God, I'm Greta Thunberg. How dare they refuse to do something that's going to provide aid, no matter how ridiculous the aid might be, provide aid to Americans simply to score a political point on Donald Trump. It's very sad. That's the state of the nation. That's the state of the system of government. And I think we'll close it there. So thank you very much for listening to our little rant on taxation and such things. Merry Christmas, one and all. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Drop us a like and do leave a comment. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.